Okay, before I can say what environmental sustainability means for defence, I need to define sustainability. There's no agreed universal definition for sustainability. It can be applied in numerous fashions and different ways, and sustainability actually comes from the concept of sustainable development, which came about from the first World Earth Summit in 1992 in Rio, where sustainable development was defined. Sustainable development and sustainability are used interchangeably. There are three pillars: environmental protection, social responsibility, and balancing economic growth. I think in short, really, what sustainability is, it's about managing natural resources, looking at human and ecological health, and driving innovation. Environmental sustainability for defence it's a really interesting one, actually, because of where defence operates. They operate in permissive and non-permissive environments, and often in austere and very hostile environments as well, where the infrastructure is very poor. Because of this infrastructure, it places high demand on the lines of communications, so it can make planning very, very difficult for logisticians, in particular for food, water, shelter, etc. When we think about environmental sustainability from a logistician's point of view, we need to think about climate, humidity, the environment, people, pressure, temperature and vibration, because they can all have a huge effect on how a logistician plans accordingly. Again, quite difficult to look into the future, to predict the future for defence, when we need to consider stuff such as the political instability of where defence operates, environmental legislation that's increasing, export policies for critical materials that they rely on for military capability, also growing global governance, climate change concerns and the effects of defence and on defence of climate change, but also raw materials as well, and natural resources, be it energy, food, water, but in particular raw materials. And that's because only a handful of countries produce the raw materials or the critical materials that defence relies on, in particular rare earth elements. Once upon a time we had an open system where there were enough resources to go around, but now we're facing a closed system because of countries such as Congo and China that are the biggest global producers of these materials. I think what defence needs to consider is the different material flows, and in particular reverse flows, and to put an infrastructure in place to recover, recycle, remanufacture parts in particular. And they are moving very much from a linear type focus of take, make and dispose to a circular way of thinking. And it's not a new concept actually for defence or logisticians, because they've always maximised value from assets and reused parts. But what is different, we're moving on from consumption and production and disposal. They need to think about military capability through life. Okay, so in effect from concept to disposal. So they will now need to think about the materials up front at the design stage, the resultant environmental impacts potentially going forward, and the critical supply of materials that they absolutely rely on 24/7 in the digital battle space. And I think this is what they're going to struggle with. But if they can actually grapple with some of these issues around environmental sustainability, then it's likely that defence logistics going forward will be much more sustainable.